Welcome to episode 15 of Founders and Funders. This week I have Jaryd Krause on the show, founder of Buying Online Businesses. Welcome to the show, Jaryd.
Hey, thank you so much for having me on. I'm honored and I really appreciate it. This is going to be fun.
I'm so excited. You are living the dream, and I figured it's worth sharing your story with our listeners. So before we get deeper into talking about what buying online businesses is and what it does, how you started it, let's talk more about the beginning. Tell us a little bit about where you grew up and your story.
Yeah, sure. Good question. So I was born in Mornington Peninsula in Mount Martha, actually. And I think I was about 10 when we moved. My parents moved to the Gold Coast. Dad got a job in Brisbane and decided to commute. And yeah, I grew up on the Gold Coast, lived in Burleigh for most of my life. And then I did a bunch of traveling. I, I went to school on the Gold Coast and became a plumber and hated it. And then, yeah, I did a bunch of traveling in between being a plumber and I eventually moved to Palm Beach. And then eventually, and I think I've lived in about 8 countries throughout my travels over that sort of 10-ish year period. Yeah. And now I live in Indonesia.
Nice. So what about being a plumber did you not like and drove you to make a change?
I just didn't want to be on the tools when I was 60 and just not good for the body. I also I got to a point where I was like, I was become a supervisor, like a foreman of a bunch of job sites and stuff like that for a big portion of the career. And I, I just didn't, I just didn't want the stress for the work I was doing. And I just wasn't like mentally stimulated. I just didn't like my lifestyle really. That's the main thing. I was just working too much and I just knew that I could do something better. As I kept quitting, like I'd work for a year and then I'd go travel for a year. I'd work for 6
Mhm.
months and then go travel for a year. And then in between those trips, I was like, I need to work out how I can make this my life,
Yeah.
basically. Yeah.
And how did you decide what to do instead of plumbing?
I was living in Egypt in 2013, started 2013. So 2012 to 2013, I was there and I was just like, I can't go back to this plumbing job. I've got to
Mhm.
work out how I can make some money online. So I literally typed in to Google how to travel the world and make money online. I know it sounds trivial.
What was the response? What was it?
Yeah. Results were basically become a travel blogger.
Okay.
And so I was like, cool, I'll become a travel blogger. And I did that for 2 years and made little to no money, but I learnt a lot. Yeah.
And how did it go from travel blogger to buying online businesses?
Yeah. So bit of a journey. I did go home to work as a plumber whilst I was still travel blogging. So that's why I was like traveling and working at the same time. And after about a year and a half of doing that travel blog, I realized, man, like this is not working. Like I need to get an actual online income stream. What sort of businesses do that? So I started a e-commerce brand and built out a dropshipping business and knew nothing about digital marketing, nothing about paid ads. So we sold like a handful of products all through just like organic traffic through me creating blog posts and doing SEO work. And the frustration from the 2 years of me not really getting results was like, hang on a second, like I came across a stat that 90% of all startups fail. And I was like, okay, well, if that's the case, why don't I go buy one that's past that 90% failure rate that's already got a proven
Yeah.
track record?
Mhm.
And so I was like, I really want to buy an online business. So I typed into Google again, like,
Mhm.
can, where can you buy an online business? And that's where I found a couple of platforms that you could buy online businesses.
Mhm.
And there was nobody really teaching this, how to buy them. So I just had to teach myself. Like I read a few blog posts and I bought my first online business in 2014
Mhm.
and it went quite well. And then I bought the 2 remaining years after that. So I bought 3 small online businesses in 3 years, one from 2014, one in 2015, middle of 2015, and then one the start of 2016. And by the time I got to the end of, or the middle of 2015, the business I had just acquired and the first business, so number one and two, I was making more from my plumbing job. So I decided to finish off the renovation, the extension of that I was working on. I was a site supervisor for Pacific Fair. If you know the Gold Coast, that shopping center or mall got a big like renovation, and I was running that for one of the plumbing firms. And I decided to just finish at the end of the year in 2015 and hand that over to another plumber that I was working with. And then I quit and started traveling again full time with two businesses. And I bought a third business 2016. Then from there, I got invited to a bunch of events. People wanted me to jump on stage and speak about buying online businesses. And I actually didn't really start teaching. I was just like an attendee at those events, but like a lot of the audience were like, dude, like after hearing about my story, like, dude, can you like help me to buy a business?
Yeah.
I was like, I don't know, like I'm pretty good at the moment. And eventually like more and more people wanted to learn how to buy a business. And so I ended up getting about 15 people that wanted to learn, and I created a course and I just taught them for free basically,
Yeah.
whilst I was traveling, and none of them did anything. And then it got to 2017 and I was like, people aren't doing anything because they don't value this because it's free. I'm going to
Yeah.
charge money for it.
Okay.
So I launched that in 2017. And then, yeah, we quickly became one of the world's largest communities for helping people to buy online businesses, largest e-learning platform for buying
Oh,
online businesses. Yeah.
nice. I want to ask you about leaving your plumbing career and running your own online business. I know from when I started my own small businesses, those around me had so much criticism of the risks involved and all the things that could go wrong, and what are my contingency plans, and
Yeah. It's a good
what
question.
was it like for you when you told those around you that you're leaving your career? That, and I think plumbers do pretty well, and it's very stable income. There's always plumbing to be installed and replaced. What was it like for you when you informed those around you that you were
Yeah.
do
It
this?
wasn't a great response. My parents are worried, but they're also pretty supportive. But like at work, I remember having days where things were going really good and I didn't feel like telling people, but I had days where the businesses weren't going so well and I'd end up speaking to people about it and they're like, oh, this is never going to work.
Mm,
I was buying my second business in 2015 and you can't, you're going to get scammed. Basically, just the environment that you're in, it's people don't understand it. So, of course, whatever we don't understand is risky typically. And people just typically wanted to keep me safe, right? They like, these are good people. These
good
are work
intentions.
colleagues. Yeah,
Mm,
good intentions. They just want to keep me safe and make sure I don't make bad decisions. But that's based on their worldview. And they don't know how unhappy I am wanting to change my life. So it was tough because getting feedback that isn't positive towards the goal that you want to achieve it does make it harder. But that's just where you got to be like, I'm like one of those people that's, I'm going to prove you wrong,
yeah,
sort of
me
thing.
too. Me too.
Yeah, you are. I like that about you, Ray. Yeah. And we like the challenge and it's just like, no, I'm all right. Let's go. That's my motivation now.
Yeah. I remember around that same time, I wanted to own online businesses. I think I saw some ads on you can have all this passive income. I went on a site, I'm not sure if they have it anymore. I think it's called Flippa, which had like
Yes,
online
they do
business.
have it.
Is it still around?
Yeah, well, absolutely. Like I
Okay.
speak to, I know the CEO of Flipper.
Oh,
A
no
lot of
way.
my clients buy businesses from Flipper. I bought my first business from Flipper.
Wow.
They are the world's largest marketplace for businesses, online businesses listed online.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they've gotten a lot better. But yeah, so
Okay.
you went off Flipper, just like me, around the same time. Wow, that's
Around the
cool,
same
Ray.
time. And then I
Yeah,
thought, wow, if I invested Like there's some really small businesses that are a few $1,000s, and there's some that are like tens of thousands up to hundreds of thousands. And at that time, like I had less saved, and I thought quite risky. And then I would have to run these businesses. So I didn't venture into it. And also I was afraid of being scammed. Are these stats real? Because they had the they had the page results from Google Analytics showing the visitors and sales. So I had so much fear because it's something I hadn't done before. So I didn't buy any businesses. How did you decide which businesses to buy as your first ones? What attracted you to them? What kind of businesses were they?
Yeah, that's a good question. It is scary. Like, I definitely had the same fears. Like, I didn't want to get scammed. That was my number one thing is I just don't want to
Mm,
get scammed, especially at that time, like 2013, 2014. It's all pretty new, pretty green. Even now, a lot of people don't know that you can buy an existing online business. It's that, yeah, I, at that time, I just learned a lot about blogging and SEO.
mhm,
And also, the second business I started was drop shipping. So I was like, maybe I buy something to do with drop shipping, but I also wanted a business that had recurring revenue
mm.
because it's typically a higher multiple, which means it's valued higher, but it's got less risk because you got recurring revenue. And I was open to a lot, but I did find a recurring revenue business that was a database of wholesalers and suppliers that drop shippers could use when they're starting their own drop shipping business, or they were already have a drop shipping business and they could find more suppliers to add more products to their store. And yeah, I acquired that one.
Wow. And how did it go when you took it over? What was the handover like when you buy an online business?
Yeah, this one was the first acquisition for me. So
Yeah.
it wasn't as smooth as I've been a part of. I don't even know how many transactions. I've helped thousands of people buy businesses now. But this first one, I just got access to the website, the WordPress website, and I think it had like a plugin called Generate Press, which was like the recurring revenue, like the login part of the membership part of the business. And the income that they were getting paid into PayPal. And so I just took over the WordPress account. And then I also just changed the details over to my PayPal account. So the money started coming into my PayPal account. And it was pretty much that. Pretty simple. I also got the domain name. Well, I think I might have taken over their hosting account. So when you buy an online business with a website, you will need to either buy hosting yourself
Mhm.
and then transfer the website to be hosted in your own account. So it's basically like all the files and data that the website has, you own them, and you're basically buying like an online parking lot to host the website. And the same with domain names. So I can't remember if I had got my own hosting or I just took over his. I think from memory, I took over his and then like just gave me access permissions, and then I removed him from that.
Nice.
Yeah.
And then you mentioned you were giving away your advice for free online and wasn't being valued, so you created a program to help others. How did it how did you promote the program, and what were the early days like when you started selling your product?
Yeah, good question. So I actually created a program and I gave the program away for free for like
Mm,
10 to 10 people, like family and friends and stuff like that. And then I had that program. I was like, this is valuable. So that's what I did is I came back to Australia and I asked my cousin who knew a bunch of people actually living in Melbourne who were doing some pretty good online business mentorship.
okay.
And I hired a mentor, did his program, and basically valued like the course. And I started selling the course through Facebook ads to people to opt into a free lead magnet. And then I would call them and then sell them into the program, which would also not just be a course, but also one-to-one help with me. And I launched that in 2017. and my website, Ray, was disgusting. It looked like it was something out of the night, like it was built in 1995. Really, that's what it looked like. Yeah, and I had like I had ClickFunnels. I'm not sure if you guys know what that is, but
No, tell
basically
us
a
a little bit
soft
more.
yeah, it's basically like a software that is you can create landing pages and opt-in forms and collect payments and stuff like that. Basically, it's to build a funnel, right? A sales funnel online. And I bought that and started using that and got leads and started calling all these leads and learned how to make sales. Like I'd never done sales before. And yeah, started selling people into the program. And then from there, we went into the actually interesting thing was the person that sold me into my mentor's coaching program. I was in a Facebook group and everybody started seeing the results that I was getting with my launching my business, and I
Yeah.
was doing all right. And he actually called me and was like, I want to leave this company. I want to come and work for you. I
Wow.
was like, right. Yeah. And he was his number one sales guy at the time. I was like, man, I don't have enough leads for you. I've only got like really enough barely for me. And he's
Yeah.
like, he said to me, I'm still friends with this guy. You would like him too. He's such a legend. And he's like, all right, well, get more leads. And I was like, what do you mean? He's like, hire a marketing guy and get more leads. I was like, all right. So I hired a marketing person that helped me get more leads, and I brought him on, and he just ended up crushing it for me. Like he was just made so many sales, and I started to slowly build out a bit of a sales team with him.
Wow.
Yeah, it was quite interesting. We moved really fast at that time. I think we did like our first year, we did just under or close to 500,000.
Wow.
Yeah. And then things went pear shaped for a bit after that.
Okay. Before the pear
Yeah.
shape, let's talk about
Yeah.
one of the things I think about when doing businesses that have coaching is how dependent it is on your time. Like I used to be a
Yeah.
consultant and I run my own consulting business with large companies, and I can be a high valued consultant for one assignment at the time, maybe multiple part-time ones, but there's a ceiling to how much consulting revenue I can generate. Even even if I work on my weekends. How did you balance all these clients that were coming through your funnel and consulting and having to sell more? Like, how much advisory or coaching work were you doing every day?
Oh, it was crazy, Ray. Yeah, it was crazy. I didn't have enough time. I was just working too many hours. Like I just added on the hours and hours, and then
Mm,
I was too busy with sales and then
yeah.
coaching,
Yeah.
and then I stopped doing sales. Yeah, it was rough. Like I actually got really sick. I got really
Mm,
sick, and I didn't know how sick I was. I just kept working through it. And at this stage, I think we had 3 salespeople, marketing team, booking agents. Yeah, there was a lot going on, and I was just doing so much coaching, and my books were full. Like it was people would finish their coaching program and then have more people joining. I actually got really sick. I
yeah.
got a year and a half later. This is through 2018. A year and a half later, I went to an alternate health doctor for something completely different than I'm going to speak about now, and she's were you sick like a year and a half ago? I was like, oh, maybe. Like, I think so. She's like, yeah, you were really sick. You got Epstein-Barr virus. Like, you had glandular fever, and that turns into Epstein-Barr virus, and it was riddled through my body. So my immune system was super low, and I had to go on a crazy protocol to heal that. It cost me a lot of money and a lot of time, and I basically couldn't surf for like more than 20 minutes at a time. And
Wow.
you know me, Ray, that's a
Yeah.
big problem.
That's
But yeah, it was interesting times. Yeah. Yeah, so and that's not why it blew up in my face though.
okay.
It changed because we were running so many Facebook ads in the, like, how to make money online space, which was heavily
Yeah.
scrutinized by the policies and the terms in Facebook, and they shut down our Facebook account.
Okay.
And a lot of people at the time were having this happen. Like, a lot of my friends had similar businesses, and yeah, we got our ads back up and running eventually, but they just wasn't as profitable. So we pivoted and changed the business model entirely. And when I changed the business model, that's when I was like, all right, I need to work out how I can make this scalable without me adding more time. And similar to you, like, I know that you're in a good position, Ray. Like, you could do that as well, but you're probably not going to want to hire a team and just take on a lot more work because, like, your life is amazing right now.
Thanks, Jared.
Like, why bother? Like, you don't really need to.
Well, I would love to have a team that helps me with booking guests, doing the editing and publishing so I can just focus on speaking to people and recording and walking away. That would be a great goal by end of 25 to be able to record from a nice studio, good environment, good team, and I don't have to focus on the administrative things. That would be really nice. Yeah.
True.
And I could
Yeah.
always
And
have
it can
more
be done pretty
sponsors.
cheap.
I wouldn't mind having some more
Yeah, come
sponsors.
on, guys. This is an awesome podcast. What are you doing?
Exactly. I want to learn a little bit more around the changes you put in place. So you mentioned that it was burning you out having so many coaching sessions and dealing with sales. And then there was a pivotal point when you had to change your business. What changes to have a more harmonious life?
We went from course and coaching to just course.
Mm.
And the course was, I went from selling it as a yearly, well, I still sold it as a yearly course, but I lowered the price because it didn't have coaching with me.
Mm.
In terms of like phone calls, I would do like Facebook Lives once a month into the group.
Mm-hmm.
And then we went down to once every 2 months. And I basically said no to all coaching for 2 years after that.
Mm.
Phone calls, basically. I didn't speak to anybody and we're just supporting people through email and through text in the Facebook group and on the Facebook Lives. And yeah, we went to a program. It was a membership program where people could pay monthly or annually. And that still exists and it's still the same. A few years later, I think it was after 2 years, I said, yeah, I had a list of people that wanted coaching.
Mm-hmm.
And so I opened up to work with maximum 10 people at a time,
Okay.
doing one-to-one coaching. Cause I actually really missed it. Like, I do love guiding people and helping people.
Mm.
And so, yeah, I opened it up and yeah, that's the kind of the change we made. And we went from, instead of Facebook ads into like leads, I built out a podcast and started doing long form content and did content marketing over just like direct response marketing. And that was far better because my brand started to grow and people didn't need to be sold into anything. The content sold them into it themselves by just building trust and a relationship through podcast and YouTube channel.
Yeah. I think long form's one of my favorites, which is why I have podcast.
Yeah.
And I see that you have so many guests over the years. What are some of the most memorable conversations that you've had on your podcast?
Good. Yeah. Good question. I've had Michael Gerber. Do you know the E-Myth?
Yes.
The book
Yeah.
E-Myth? Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. I've had him on episode 300. Also, one of the person that helped him actually revise that book, David Janine's, I've had him on the podcast a couple of times. He's very heavily into systems.
Mm-hmm.
I've had James Shremko. He's an Australian guy who he's been at like an internet marketer for a long time. And he's like godfather of, like one of the founding godfathers of internet marketing and making money online.
Yeah.
Yeah. Those two guys. Who else? Let me just rack my brain real quickly. People in the M&A space, mergers and acquisitions, that have helped people buy billions of dollars of businesses. I think it's Dennis Yu, who I'm not sure if you've heard of him, but he actually sent me a pair of socks with my face on them after the interview. He wasn't a billionaire, but he had a lot of billionaire friends, and he was pretty wealthy and he'd helped a lot of people scale their businesses to like multi-billion dollars and stuff. He was pretty cool guest. Yeah, I've had some cool guests.
Yeah.
Nobody like Tony Robbins and those sorts of guys, but maybe something in the future like
There's
that.
still time. Yeah.
Yeah.
For people aspiring like myself to grow their podcasts, what advice do you have for them? What helped you grow?
I love that question. You've already got the ingredients, Ray. Is to get people on that's interesting and that you're interested in, because then you're going to be able to create a great conversation, and you're naturally curious already just through our like personal conversations. Like you just already ask great questions, and we have great conversations outside of this. So that's a really valuable thing. If somebody doesn't already have that naturally like you do, Ray, I would say learn to become curious and learn how to ask questions based on somebody's answers, right? Like you just did with the podcasting thing, is because you go deeper, you just go so much deeper, and that ends up being so much more value for your audience.
Mm.
Because you asked about, like I mentioned the podcast, and then you asked about guests, and like then you asked about like how did you grow the podcast? Like those questions are like, that's where the secret sauce is, really, where you go into depth into a conversation. Another way to really grow the podcast is, yes, it is bigger names. You do, but you need to play the game of having big names on the podcast, but those big names need to be suited to your niche and what you talk about. It's like anybody that sort of builds a career. We kind of box ourselves into one like niche in one sort of area. And if your podcast is too general and you don't have enough money to just market it to everybody, it's better for it to be very specific, and you just create content for that small niche, because then it resonates with them, and they've just got one goal, and they come to your podcast and they get the information, the value from that. Next thing that I would say is like building out a podcast is probably getting people on an email list.
Okay.
Is a really good way to go. Give them something of value and put them on an email list. And through that email list, you can either create a newsletter or start to sell products through that email list, build out it into a proper business, because typically you earn a lot more money through products and services off the back end of a podcast versus sponsorships alone. Now, sponsorships are a really good way to go as well if you've got high volume, and you can have both. You can have sponsorships, and you can also have your own products and services on the back end. And I think that's a really good approach. Making sure that the guests share the podcast episode with their audience is very valuable, which means the larger guests you have, having them share it with their audience is super valuable. Then there's other marketing strategies, if you want me to get into paid ads and stuff like that I can help with.
Sure. Let's briefly touch on it. I've never seen paid ads for podcasts.
Yeah.
Not that I know of.
I've done it in the past on Meta, on Facebook. Okay. Basically just creating a snippet, right? And now it would probably be like a reel. You create a reel, a really good quality, highly engaging reel that people can click on and watch, and then you'll have a link maybe to the full episode in Facebook or Instagram or whatever it is. That works really well. If you target the audience, say for example, you're targeting people that are interested in, you've got a fishing podcast and they're interested in catching a certain type of fish, then you create a really awesome reel that targets just people that are in that niche. And then, you can use paid ads quite well to grow a podcast. And then because you've got an email list you're getting people onto, and then eventually you'll build out maybe some products and services, ROI on the ads, it becomes far better.
Nice. Yep. That's really helpful. Thank you. I feel like I just got a free coaching session. What tell us more since the coaching is this elusive group that get your personal time. What are some of the common themes that you hear from your coaching sessions, people asking you questions? What are the main questions that come up often through these one-on-one sessions?
That's a good one. Typically, because I'm helping people buy businesses, typically it's like the question is like, how much should I spend? And what sort of business model should I buy? Where do I find them? And then it's a little bit about how to grow them. There is a big component on mindset,
Mm,
and it's not them specifically asking about it, but it's me noticing that there's certain things that are preventing them from getting what they want, or they have an expectation that's not what reality would look like, or what their experience is actually going to look like in reality for their journey towards achieving that result. So mostly I'm helping people acquire businesses. And then I also do have some clients that I help scale their businesses as well. But yeah, a lot of it's really me sharing different perspectives based on where they're at and what they want to achieve, to set a realistic expectation for them to get there, that prevents them from giving up or running away. Because a lot of people hear YouTube videos, podcasts, stories about this person did this person did that, I can do it too, this is what it's
mhm.
going to look like for me. But what we typically hear, like, people have heard my story, that's the glory story. Yeah, of course I got sick and all that sort of stuff, but yeah, it's easy to hear that and go, yeah, I can do that too. But what about the battles along the way? And you need to have somebody on the side to be emotionally available through those things that they have also been through, to help you get through it.
Yeah. So the expectations around not really understanding the struggle that's involved and the setbacks that come along with running a small business.
Yeah.
Well,
Well, for
yeah.
example, people think, oh, I'm going to go buy a business and I'll look at two or three and I'll buy one. Nah,
Mhm.
like you've got to learn the market. You've got to say no to a lot of businesses. There's And then people also have this expectation of time. Time is like the worst unit of measurement, like such a bad unit of measurement, because people are like, all right, come on my podcast and they're like, I bought a business in 3 months and it's making 3 grand, 3 grand a month passive income. It only takes me 10 hours a week to run. Like, yeah, or 5 hours a week to run. He's like, yeah, that's cool. But that's that's an outlier. And that's one of the best results we've got for somebody in terms of
Yeah.
like time frame. Like, they bought it really fast. And so how did they do that? Well, they spent probably the same amount of time that anybody would to put towards the work that needs to be done to buy the business. But they're a single male that's 23
Mhm.
or 25 and was an ex hockey player and is just a massive high achiever. And
Yeah.
then I'm on a coaching call with a dad that's, I've got two kids. I work 45 hours a week and I got a wife and I want to spend time with my kids, but I also want to make our lives better by buying a business. Like, you just don't have the time and the energy that this younger guy does. So
Mhm.
it's for you to look at 20 businesses can take you 6 months, and he can do it in 6 weeks. And then people hear on the podcast, oh, if he did it, I can do it. Well, man, let's like, it's not about the time it takes. It's about the inputs and how fast can you do those inputs yourself. So that's what and I like to help people set the bar low enough so they can achieve it. Because if you set it too high too fast, then they go, this method doesn't work. I'm going to go chase some other passive income stream and try and do that in 3 months or 6 months. And then you
Yeah.
just yo between them all. And then 10
Yeah.
years down the track, you're like, I don't like my life. Yeah, because you didn't commit to something for 10 years. Come on, man.
Yeah. It's about small gains. I feel like you're a surfer and I'm an amateur surfer, and I feel if you set too ambitious goals in your surfing, then it makes you really frustrated, and then you just don't want to surf anymore. Versus like just having small incremental goals that you can keep winning at. to get you closer. And,
Yeah. Imagine you, Ray, you're like, all right, I'm going to go like you go to 3 surf sessions with a coach for your
yeah,
first 3 surf sessions ever. And you're like, all right, next year I'm going to get barreled.
Chopu.
And you're like, whoa, okay. Like most people don't get barreled for like their first 5 years of surfing. And that's just time. We're not talking about how many like times they went out in the
Yeah.
wave. And then you get 2 years down the track and you've committed to it. Okay, I still can't get barreled. I'm going to give up. He's like, yeah, because dude,
There's
what are
so
you
many
thinking?
other skills you need in between popping
Yeah.
up to getting into a barrel.
The
Yes.
barrel is like probably the holy grail.
I've
That's
only
like the
been
end.
barreled once in my life. It sounded
Oh, that's
amazing to
so
hear the
good.
water going over your head.
Congrats.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah.
It was in
I'm
Costa
so happy
Rica.
for you. It's amazing, isn't
Where
it?
where was your first barrel?
I actually don't know, to be honest. It would have been
What?
on the Gold Coast.
Okay.
Yeah.
How
Yeah, I
old were
can't
you?
remember. Probably.
8.
I didn't start surfing till I was 15, but
Okay.
I think it probably would have been maybe, yeah, I might have been 17, maybe 16, but I was bodyboarding before that. So I had
Mm,
like a couple of years of ocean awareness and I'd be barreled on my bodyboard, but stand up, it was probably like 2 years or so. Yeah.
okay. Nice.
Yeah.
I think it was my 4th year, and then I was in Costa
Wow.
Rica,
Cool.
and it just so happened, like, I wasn't expecting it, and then it just happened, and I'm like, "Wow, that's cool." And so I almost took it for granted, and I haven't been able to replicate it, but also I'm not surfing on days where it's heavily pitching. So,
Yeah.
it's not like the
You're
opportunities
not
are
in
there.
Costa Rica
No,
right
I'm not
now.
in Costa
Just,
Rica.
yeah.
Exactly. But for me, surfing remains one of the things that helped me with my mental health and balance. And to this day, on a bad week, because I live in Melbourne, I go to the wave park and I surf when I'm frustrated, when I'm down, when I'm confused about what to do, and I just need to clear my mind and be at peace again. That's what I
Oh,
do
I
for
love
my
that.
mental health. Yeah. What do you
Can
do?
I ask
Yeah.
you,
Hmm.
or can I ask you a question? Like,
Yeah. Go on.
about it? Like, what's, what does it do for you? Like, how does it help you? How does it help you with your mental health?
I think there's a lot of thoughts that ruminate in my mind when I'm walking around or getting groceries. I'm thinking about, hey, what happened? Is the RBA going to cut rates next week? Or do I have to deal with all these tariffs that's going to affect me? Or, oh, I forgot to send this email. There's all these things on my to-do list or things that could impact my life. But then
Mm.
when I go surfing, all of a sudden I'm in a mode of just trying to survive. I'm just trying to have a decent bottom turn. Or I'm just trying to I'm trying to glide into the wave. And
Yeah.
when I'm so focused on these essential things and trying to not cut myself with my fins, I'm 100% present and none of those thoughts are in my head. It's more effective for my mental health than any anti-anxiety medication because
Yeah.
that partially numbs it. But here it's really being focused, doing something that's pretty healthy for you physically and mentally. For me, quite accessible. So I go surfing now once or twice a week. And then on my free time, I'm teaching beginners how to surf because I know the value of learning a new skill as an adult. So I like to teach other adults how to surf and hopefully they enjoy it and use it as a tool in their toolkit when they get stressed out or had a bad week at work and they can turn to the wave park or the ocean instead of to the bottle.
Yeah. I got a massive smile on my face, right? Gift. What a gift to give people. Hey, it's so cool.
It's so cool. I know you've coached surfing before also, and you know that feeling.
Yeah. Yeah. It's amazing. Yeah. Helping people stand up for the first time and just seeing, yeah, it's a game
The
changing
biggest grin,
experience for
like the
people.
biggest,
Yeah.
most genuine,
Yeah.
authentic expression on their face.
Yeah. It's like, it's pure. That is, like that is life. That is like the reason to live right there. Yeah. Surfing is like you love surfing and so do I. It's definitely surfing is my whole life has been shaped around surfing. Yeah. For that reason.
It's a lifestyle.
Just for the barrels. Like, yeah.
Yeah. So for you, is that the same? It's a way to manage stress and partly why you moved to Bali, where you live now?
It's definitely a big reason why I moved to Bali. I don't think I use it to manage stress. I'm surfing 4 to 7 times a week, maybe more
Hmm.
sometimes.
Yeah.
So it's not actually, I haven't surfed for a week, which is like
And how do
actually
you
yesterday I was
feel?
like, I think, yeah, I was speaking to somebody at dinner. I was like, wow, it's been like 6 days and I feel like I really need to
Mm,
like I need to be in the water.
yeah.
Water's big for me, just like that. Just the ocean just being near the ocean is pretty important. But for me, I guess it's if you think about running and you just need to like clear your head, you can go for a run. But when you're running, you can think about things as well. But when you're surfing,
Mm,
it's a very similar thing for me. Is well, I think for every one of us, and this is what I love about it is exactly what you said is you can't not be present. Like there's so much, like, even if you're not just trying to survive, like, I know that you're not trying to survive, Ray, because you've done this so many times. You're actually good at it. But
thank
like
you.
outside of that, you just want to be present so you can make the most of the opportunity as well. Cause
Mm,
surfing is very fleeting. And
mm.
so you just so hyper present and it's not forced. It just is so
It's
natural
natural.
to be
Yeah.
that present. Like it's not like I need to meditate and I need to focus on not thinking of thoughts. It's like you're just in it and you are it. And it's, it's everything. It's so
Yeah.
good. I've learned so much from surfing.
Me too. Me too.
Patience.
Yeah. You don't have to catch every wave.
Yeah. Oh, I always get crap from my wave count, don't I? That's fun.
So tell us a
Yeah.
little bit about your life now, what you've designed and what does it look like?
So like how I live
Yeah. You,
my day to day or my
yeah.
week to week or my
Oh,
years.
the
Yeah. Okay.
environment, because we met during just after COVID started. I
Yeah.
moved to the
Yeah.
Gold Coast because I wanted to be able to surf instead of be locked down in my apartment. And we both moved away from the Gold Coast. Tell us a little bit more around the driver for you to move and then why Bali and what have you set up now for yourself?
Yeah, at that time, I think I was probably working still 20-ish hours a week when we'd met. But my driver to move was like, I just, I realized that I had overworked, right? And when I had to force myself to work less because of this health issue and the change in the business model, is to force myself to not work more because I can just move into workaholic tendencies. I had to replace that work with something to do. So I started surfing so much. Picked up surf skating and picked up tennis,
Mm,
and we've had some
yeah.
amazing tennis matches, even though I suck.
You
But
have a good
with
forehand.
that,
You have a better
yeah,
forehand than you
thanks.
give
That's
yourself
about it.
credit.
Guys, listening to the pod, Ray is an exceptional tennis player. I know he's too humble about it, but he's won a bunch of competitions and yeah, maybe we could chat about that soon. But yeah, my tennis abilities, I just started doing it for fun. And so that was basically what I needed to do is to like try and not work as much. And when I didn't work as much, I was having more fun. And the more
Yeah.
fun that I had in my life, like the more joy, the more relaxed I was. And the more relaxed I was, the better decisions I made, which made my life better and my business better. So I ended up making more money, but working less, which is like such a paradox for most people because it's the opposite of what we learn through personal development. And I have my own gripes with personal development. It can work to a certain level and then you need to stop it. It stops you from getting to the next level. So I had to try and like work less and did all these activities, but I didn't have as many friends like yourself, Ray, to just do these activities with. And I went to Bali a couple of times over a 2 year period. I was going backwards and forwards, and I was just like, everybody here is an online entrepreneur. Everybody here is just like working minimal hours, but having so much fun all the time.
Hmm.
I was like, and then I kept going back to Australia. I was like, I'm bored when I get to Australia, and I just want to like surf and have fun. And so that's why I moved to Indonesia, to Bali. And yeah, my life now is like I just went on a surf trip. I got back last week. I've done 2 surf trips this year so far, and it's the middle of Feb, smack bang on the
Mm,
middle of Feb. And on one of my the last surf trip I was with a friend and another friend, and he asked her, "Is like, what does what does Jared's day to day look like? Like, how many hours does he work and stuff?" And she's like, "Oh, he probably does 20 minutes, 30 minutes of emailing a day." And I'm like, he's like, "What?" He's like, "What do you mean? I thought Jared worked like 5 to 6 hours a day like all of us." I'm like, "Well, sometimes I will do like a 10-hour work week and have a bunch of calls and get
Sometimes you
on
stretch it
podcasts."
to a tough week,
Yeah.
10 hours that week.
Well, I've done 15, but I used to do the whole
Mhm.
70 hours and stuff
Yeah,
like that. Yeah, so that's just to explain the life that's I've designed is I yeah, it's really about surfing for me. I just try and make sure I've got time for that, and it's so I do less coaching, one-on-one coaching calls, obviously. So I only have like 5-ish coaching calls a month max maybe now.
like
Yeah, that's and I surf, I meditate, and I just try to have as much fun as I can, and then when it's something important, if I'm buying a business with somebody, I'll have a couple of calls and we'll have a couple of serious important emails, and I'm all about working less and earning more, and yeah, creating more value for people without having to be sacrificing yourself. And people might be hearing this and be like, "Dude, that's crazy." But yeah, it's been 12 years though. It's not like this is
not
the glory
overnight.
story. Yeah,
No.
this is like the
Yeah.
absolute like glory story. Like it's yeah. And I am lazy as well. Like I like to I could earn more money if I wanted to, Ray. Yeah, and if I work more. But I'm
Yeah.
like, surfing's good. Like I could be so much richer in terms of money value, but I think that's maybe the richest I could get right now in terms of like lifestyle.
Yeah. I have learned a similar lesson the last 2 years when I was putting my head down in consulting and earning as much as I could, but then I wasn't taking care of my health, my sleeping, my eating, or my portfolio. And I missed out on a lot of good investments because I was earning a good wage consulting. And
Yeah.
so to you, I could have cut back and had a more holistic view of my life and then been in a better position. I think these are the things that I keep in mind today is it's not, at least just this generation, I'm trying to be more focused on what's valuable versus just putting in a lot of time because it feels like working hard is a good accomplishment, but sometimes you're also distracting yourself from the bigger picture, the more important things.
Yeah, it's not sustainable, right? Yeah, I'm so happy for you that you yeah, I remember you working and no, I remember you had a countdown on your phone. Do you
I
remember
did.
that? To like
Yeah.
to the
Every
days
time I
the
saw you.
days yeah, every time, and sometimes you send me a screenshot, I'm like, "Dude, that's so cool. You're so close." And in that time though, now, I heard an analogy not long ago. It was like somebody that was pretty successful in their own domain. They're like, "I like to be like a lion."
Okay.
Um, it might have been Cat Williams, a comedian, and he's, "I like to be like a lion, like just cruise, chill, have a good life, no stresses, and then when I need something, I'm relaxed, I've got the energy, and if I need to hunt and get it, I just do it real quick, I get what I want, and then I relax and chill again." Like, it's
Yeah.
a pretty cool life. That's a really cool analogy, to live like a lion, like,
Mm.
just chilling, and then when you need to eat, like, you can just get to work.
That's basically like my greyhound. She just wakes up to eat, go for a walk, and then it's back to sleeping.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Joni.
Tony. Yeah.
Yeah.
So looking ahead, future plans for your company, what things do you have planned for it that you can share?
Good question. Moving forwards, I'm slowly moving further and further away from just like a lot of one-to-one consulting, and I'll probably just have maybe 5 clients a month, but high level clients, people doing 10 mil, 5 to 10 mil rev. revenue in their business a year and just work as a strategic advisor for growth. I'd also like to be helping people that are athletes and artists get better results. So be a performance
Mm,
coach, but through what I've talked about is like by doing less. And when you do the work or the training or your creative space is like you just do it very productively
mhm,
and you can get better results, right? And because you've got a better, like people that have a better lifestyle and they're not stressed, like they're going to train so much better. Like they're rejuvenated and they're going to get better results versus just like always constantly worrying about getting a gold medal or getting
mm,
a hit song or whatever it is, or a hit piece of art. But yeah, so I'd like to start working with athletes and artists. I will continue to work as an M&A advisor and acquire businesses for people and do build out holding companies and do roll-ups and stuff. But yeah, I'm pretty excited about just like helping people become excellent and loving their lives,
mhm,
achieving great results. Yeah, that's where I'm headed. I think I'll end up doing a lot more speaking gigs, on stage speaking. Yeah, and I'd like to do more interviews on anti-personal development and what it can do for you.
Yeah. Nice. And for the people who cannot get into your coaching schedule to get advice, for our listeners, what advice do you have for those aspiring entrepreneurs earlier in their journey?
Good question. Yeah, being earlier in your journey, I would say stick to one thing. Find something and just stick to it for a long period of time and try not to get bored with it. The compounding effect of you staying in your lane is phenomenal. Like often we underestimate what we can achieve in 1 year and overestimate what we can achieve in, is that the right way? We overestimate what we can achieve in 1 year and underestimate what we can achieve in 3 years. Think about
Mm,
that with adding a zero on. We over we often overestimate what we can achieve in 10 years and underestimate what we can achieve in 30 years. And so I would say commit to something for the long term and learn the lessons that you need to learn in that parallel, in that lane, because you could learn those lessons in a different lane, but you're just jumping from one thing to the next. So I would say that at the start, you're going to need to, you're not going to be able to have your cake and eat it too. You're going to need to sacrifice and work out what you're willing to give up. Is it time? Is it money? Is it lifestyle? For yourself and myself, Ray, we've definitely given up and consciously gave up time and lifestyle
mm,
for work and building out our careers. And I kind of, I don't know anybody that hasn't done that's achieved some level of success. It's like you do need to make those sacrifices. And then only once you've made those sacrifices, organically, you'll be able to open up spaces where you've got more time and money to do things. But it's only comes from just the ultimate commitment at the start, really. Yeah,
mm.
I would being patient. I would say is just so critical. Like I don't think like now younger people are patient enough because of the attention spans and content is so quick and we can get all this stuff. But like the people that stay in the game the longest are the ones that win.
Yeah, I totally agree. I totally agree. And for our listeners who want to learn more about you, where should they go?
Yeah. If you type in Jaryd Krause to Google, you can go to buyingonlinebusiness.com. I've got a bunch of interviews on YouTube and all the other podcasts. But yeah, all LinkedIn, Jaryd Krause, Jaryd Krause. And you can check out all of my links of what I'm up to and have done and will do in the future.
Excellent. I'll include those in the show notes for our guests. Thank you
Thank you
very
so
much,
much,
Jared, for
Ray.
your time. It's been really nice
Yeah,
chatting with
thank
you.
you. Oh, absolutely. I always enjoy this